Hello and welcome to the Royal Oak Woman channel. My name is Precious Nduku Pascal, and on this channel I host a series called Felttling Flames. Today happens to be another episode, and today we'll be delving into something very interesting, something I'm very passionate about. And it is, well, before I tell you that, if you're new, you're very much welcome to the channel. Feel free to subscribe, like and share and watch as many videos as possible. For our returning subscribers, you're very much welcome. Today we will be talking about the weapon called woman. The woman is one of the two species of beings that God created, and it was a being that he gave himself into when he was creating her. He poured in his heart, he poured in his energy, his strength, everything he got. As a matter of fact, God put the combination of every resources, his strength, his inspiration, his creativity, his stamina, he poured it into the woman. Like they always say, the last is always saved for the best. And so he made the woman the last of his creation. However, before he made her, there was already a product, right? So the first product of humanity that God made was the man. Out of this man, he then took a rib and made the woman. Some time ago, I began to ponder about this thing, and came to my awareness that God made the man out of dust. Now, the dust is like the sand. He refined it and brought out a creature out of it. But then, when he wanted to make the woman, it wasn't the raw dust anymore. God didn't have to go back to start remolding a new set of dust. He simply went to a refined dust, and with a refined dust, he created a new living being. What does that say to you? That if God used the best of his materials to make the man, then he used the best of the best of the materials to make the woman. The woman was made from a double refined material. So she's not just a being out of dust, she's a being out of the refined dust, if that makes sense to you. What a beauty. Over time, I've come to realize that the woman was not just, about God wanting to bring something into existence. Now, God is very particular. He's very strategic about the things that he does. And when he does things, he does it with a purpose in mind, with a goal, with an intention. And so, when God was creating man, by man, I mean both Adam and Eve, the two species, there was an intention. He wanted to make something that looks like him, or someone or people that look like him on the earth. And aside the fact that he wanted to make people who looked like him in his image, he also wanted to get back at the devil. You see, when the devil rebelled, he hurt the Lord so much. And it was not enough that the devil, was rebellious. He was equally unapologetic. He was not ready to surrender. He wasn't ready to confess, to say he was sorry about the things that he had done. Instead, he became an antagonist. He became God's arch enemy. And he vowed to become a trouble upon the earth. In the book of Revelation, chapter 12, the Bible is talking about woe to the inhabitants of the earth, because that's where the devil has been cast down. So the devil's intention was to frustrate God and to frustrate his purpose. However, God is not always in contention with the devil. I mean, they're not in the same categories. Instead, God chose that he will create something or some people who look like him, who will carry out the revenge mission. And with that intent, he made man. He made Adam and made Eve. Now, man and woman are the strategic dimensions of God, separated into two different entities. God is neither male nor female. He is a spirit being. And same with the angels. There is neither a male angel nor a female angel. However, many times when we look at men, we tend to look at them in the light of who God is, because of the authority that they carry. It comes naturally in them. Now, God put his symbol of authority in a man. But in a woman, he put his symbol of influence. Yes. Now, God gave the woman a dimension of himself that he didn't give to the man. And this is why the woman is an entirely different structure from a man, both physically and mentally. A very parallel structure from a man. Now, when God was creating the woman, there was something he gave to her. I believe that God was very strategic about his creation of the woman. He was very detailed. The way that he mapped her out and chiseled her out and, carved out every aspect of her, every part of her outwardly. And the things that he put inside her memory, inside her mind, inside of her body. All of that, sends a very powerful message to what God was doing in creation. It's very important for us to understand that the woman is God's special creature. This creature called woman is a mystery that we will continue to unravel and understand in time for as long as we are alive. A woman is a mystery. You cannot completely explain the amount of energy, the amount of strength, the amount of power, the amount of aura, the amount of presence and grace and gifts and talents and all manner of packages that God put inside of this creature. And when God was creating her, he gave us something very special that the man didn't have. And what was that? The womb. Now, the womb is something that is very powerful. It's like a powerhouse, a power system that God put into the woman. And it is something that is innate in God. Now, when we talk about the womb, the first thing that comes to mind is having babies, having children. But it's not just about that. The womb is an unparalleled, unmatched creative power and ability. The ability that God gave to the woman when he gave her the womb is the same ability that God harbors in himself that made him to create everything he created. The ability to bring forth out something out of nothing. The ability to incubate, to nurture, to produce, and to reproduce. It is something in repetitional order. It continues to happen again and again. And that's why the woman can have children again and again. Now, the womb is something that also is very present in God. There are so many places in the scripture where God is described in a way that shows his compassionate heart, that shows his motherhood, that shows his, his feminine side. Sometimes we describe him as a mighty-breasted one. That is the one who has the ability to feed many, to sustain and to sustain and to sustain, and he never runs out. And that same strength, that same rigor, that same energy, God put it in the woman. Now, have you ever asked yourself, when you think about the story of what happened in the Garden of Eden, why did the devil go after the woman? When he was thinking about what he wanted to do, who he wanted to attack, why was the woman his first target? Now, there is something about the devil. The devil doesn't go after something that doesn't scare him. His strategy is to headlong attack whatever he is afraid of. And so, could it be that the devil was afraid of the woman? Could it be that there was something he saw about this creature? There was something he could not place his hands on. There was something he could not explain about this person. And he's not God. He doesn't know everything. He doesn't have all that accuracy of thoughts and imaginations. But sometimes he can guesswork and he can perceive. Is it possible that the devil could have perceived that there was something about the woman that was going to be a threat to him? That this creature was going to be the powerhouse upon which things and persons and beings, more beings that would come forth from her would be the instrument of his downfall. Remember, I have said earlier that when God was creating man, there was something he had in mind. He wanted to take out the devil. But being the God that he is, in a class all by himself, he wouldn't come down to fight with the devil. So he wanted to mesmerize the devil and to make mockery of him by creating something that looks like him, that could do what he had the potential to do. That was why, even after the devil succeeded in deceiving Eve, he thought, oh, because I've gotten her, I've gotten mankind. Of course, if he got Eve, it was very easy for him to get Adam. And then it created a ripple effect in all of humanity. Well, isn't it thrilling that in that same circumstance, where it looked like all hope was lost, where it looked like everything had been messed up, God gave a word. God gave a declaration. And he said to that woman in the book of Genesis chapter 3 verse 16, he said, the seed of the woman shall bruise the head of the serpent. Well, that was a prophetic scripture. But what is thrilling to me about it is the fact that whatever it is that was going to bruise the head of the serpent was going to come from a woman. Whatever it is that was going to crush Satan was going to come from a woman. So God was literally saying the weapon of mass destruction for the devil and the fallen angels was stored in a woman. And that is why a woman is a weapon. A woman is a weapon because everything that comes out of you literally has the potential to crush the devil. Everything that you produce and reproduce has the potential to make a mess of what the devil has proposed. The question that I tend to ask very often is, why does it seem that in the world that we live in, The devil has a hold on women. It's like there is an attack on womanhood, on femininity, on the strength of the female. There are so many labels that has been given to a woman, and many definitions and many categorizations of who she should be, of what she should do, of how she should act. And it's like there is a war, literally, not just against mankind, but against the woman herself. Why is the devil dragging a lot of women into places of compromise? Why is he dragging them into using up their bodies for the wrong things? Why is he interested in luring them into places that are dark, into shadows, into actions that does not credit God? Why? Because he knows that what comes out from one woman can create a generation and sustain a dispensation. By one woman named Eve, man fell. By one woman named Mary, the world received redemption through Jesus. And for every defeat that will come to the devil, for every victory that will be won on earth, for everything that will give God glory upon the earth, for every recovery, for every restoration, for every act of righteousness, for every battle against the enemy, formidable enough to defeat him, a woman is involved, directly or indirectly. If she's not the one fighting that battle, something from her, it could be a child, it could be something she created, it could be anybody, but something that came from within her. That simply tells you how powerful the woman is. The woman is God's weapon, fashioned against the devil to put him into perpetual shame. The woman is God's instrument of reconciliation, redirection, restructuring, nurture, of productivity, of creativity upon the earth. The woman is the extra factor. She's the value factor. She's the sustainer. She's the preserver. She's the generational shifter. She's the powerhouse. She's the incubator. She's a co-creator with God. She has an experience that is deep-rooted in a godlike experience. The experience of birthing forth, the experience of bringing forth is an experience that is very, very peculiar to the person of God. No being on earth can create with the explicitity and the expertise with which God creates. The only being are able to perform that system of creativity like God is the woman. Even the man can create, can produce, but he still needs the woman to produce. If you're a woman and you're listening to me, the question is, do you understand how much of a weapon you are? Do you understand that you have been positioned on the earth as a missile against the devil? It may not happen directly through you, but it can happen through somebody that comes from your loins. It may not happen through you, but it can happen through the creative abilities that come from your mind. And if you carry this knowledge, if you carry this awareness of who you are, of what God has made you, has designed you to be and to do on the earth, you will carry yourself differently. You will think differently. You will act differently. You won't chip in yourself. You won't chip in your body. You won't chip in your mind. You won't settle for smallness. You won't settle for crumbs. You won't settle to be a chicken when you were meant to be an eagle. You won't settle to, gallivant like every other girl, like every other woman out there who doesn't care about what happens to them. Whatever that comes is fine. You won't settle for that. You will go for the best. You will be strategic about your life, knowing that everything you produce has the capacity to change the world. Everything that comes out of you has the capacity to rewrite the stories of history, to change a generation. Mary understood this. She saw herself not just as a vessel, not just as a mere woman, fragile and tender. She saw herself as a weapon. And when she got that conviction that God was about to do something on the earth, something very unusual, something that would rewrite the history of the world, she submitted herself for such an assignment. Are you willing to submit yourself to be the weapon that God will use to frustrate the devil for as long as he exists? Woman, you are a weapon. Everything that comes forth from you is a missile, is a bomb waiting to explode on the devil. Woman, your body is an artillery of weapons. Your mind, your eyes, your mouth, your thoughts, everything are packaged instruments for the annihilation of the works of darkness. Don't waste your strength. Don't waste your energy. Don't waste your life. Don't waste the weapons. Don't shoot away the bullets that God has deposited in you. Invest them in the right places. And whenever the devil hears your name, he will take to his heels. And with that, we have come to the end of Fettling Flames. for today. It's been an awesome time with you. Thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you next time.